Say hello to the all-new Alexa Plus and see how Alexa can do so much more for you. Need tickets to see your favorite artist? Craving your comfort restaurant? Just sit back, relax, and talk naturally. Alexa's on it. It learns your style, anticipates what's next, and makes it happen across Echo, Fire TV, and more. Learn more at amazon.com/new Alexa.
I remember I'd say to a guy, I like that chair. You don't realize what it is. I would look at a chair. The arm of a chair was very important to me. I said, I like that chair, but this arm has to be a different shape. And you got to chisel that. I'm a very aesthetic person, believe me. I'd say to your artists, they were artists. They were artisans, you know. I'd say, no, can you give a different curve? Can you do a little more carving at the end? They would, right in front of me, bing, 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 bing. They were like geniuses. By the way, it's all coming back. Some of it's coming back here. It's all coming back.
Quiet Riot.
Hello and welcome to Quiet Riot Sunday School, the shiny bauble to our Thursday show, Norwegian Fur. I'm Alex.
And I'm Naomi. How are you, Alex?
I'm very well, sort of gearing up for a bit of a... Well, I'm not really having a break. I'm having quite an intense work period.
Oh, wow.
But I'm looking forward to the quiet. I get a lot done, basically, every year over Christmas. And
When there's no distraction.
I do enjoy that. I get masses done. How about you?
I'm gearing up to wind down, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, I am spent after this year and delighted that we've got a clear couple of weeks off.
Yeah, because we've got everything prepared, don't we? We've been super
organised.
How many frigging episodes did we record this week? I think it was about 7, isn't it?
Yeah, it was incredible in total. Yeah. So we've got 2 coming out with James O'Brien, which is great.
A review of the year that's been, basically, in 2 parts with James O'Brien. We had a long talk about this, didn't we? And we decided to release that actually on the regular day, the first part of that, which is Christmas Day. So we decided to release it first thing Thursday morning, Christmas morning. A lot of our listeners tell us that they listen to the podcast while cooking. And so we thought there's going to be a lot of people in a manic kitchen that morning that might appreciate the company.
Exactly. And then sticking to our usual rhythm of a Thursday show and a Sunday show, we're going to put the second part of the James O'Brien 2025 retrospective out on Sunday as if it were a Sunday school. So there will be sort of no interruption to your regular dose of Quiet Riot.
What's the thing that happens after that? So then we're talking New Year's Day is the Thursday after that, right?
Yep.
So what's going on New Year's Day?
Well, we thought we would do an entire episode dedicated to Wokie Dokie and Grin and Share It, because every week it's a real pain to have to not talk about some brilliant things that have come our way or that we've stumbled across. And so instead of putting them in the recycling bin, we store them up in an archive.
Like Santa, I keep a list, don't I?
And pluck from them as and when we need to. And we've got so many that we thought, okay, we'll talk you through the favourite ones that never made the cut this year.
I think it ended up being about 7, 8 of each. Wakey Dokies and Grin and Share It's.
Yeah.
So that'll be a nice light thing for a day on which I think a lot of people will be nursing a bit of a headache.
I hope so,
New Year's Day.
A bit of levity and mirth.
That's right. And then Sunday, we sort of get back into the swing of things. We have a look at the year forward, don't we?
Yeah. So we've got Danny Shrishkandaraja, who is the CEO of the New Economics Foundation. Regular listeners will have heard him on the show before. He is superb. A, because he's just got a bloody gorgeous voice. But mostly B, because he is a font of knowledge, particularly on international issues. So we've thrown a load of questions at him about what to expect in the coming year, globally, domestically, online, offline. We've probed him about New Year resolutions for politicos. And I think it's a really lovely little show to put out before we come back proper.
I mean, it was a depressing episode because it is essentially looking at risk assessment, but it was also a really, really good fun episode because of the stuff that came out, I guess. And there's been a bit of good news as well since we recorded on Thursday.
Yeah, there has. Yeah, so the EU has finally managed to land in a place of giving Ukraine cash, which covers about 2/3 of its funding deficit over the next 2 years. This was not in the end done by releasing Russian frozen assets to them, but is loans from member states, with the exception of three of them: Czechia, Slovakia, and Hungary. Now, Hungary, obvs, whatever, park that to one side. I was a bit disappointed about Czechia and, former Warsaw Pact countries, because until now they'd been actually really, really good on Ukraine. That sort of tempers the good news. But overall, and while there would have been a huge amount of criticism of member states in the run up to this decision, I do think it's probably a relatively elegant landing zone, because they can be seen to be upholding property rights, even though probably it all got plundered from poor Russian people into the hands of a few oligarchs. Anyway, but that aside, what this means is that Ukraine only has to pay back these loans once and if they ever get reparation from Russia if the war ends.
Yeah, it's not fully what we would have wished for, but
And
it
it's not
is
enough, but it's bloody good.
But it is getting to the right place in a practical
Exactly.
way, which is sort of what the EU is good at. Anyway, it's where we are. Now, listeners, there is still just about time to grab some last-minute gifts. So please don't forget to check out our bookshop. The link is in the show notes. Or treat yourself and buy a monthly sub to Quiet Riot by visiting ko-fi.com/Quiet Riot Pod. It's only a £5 a month and keeps this show going.
Indeed, for those supporters on Ko-fi, we're going to be hosting an online editorial meeting in the new year, as well as our regular Zoom calls throughout 2026, Ask Us Anything sessions, and possibly even a live recording or two that you could participate in.
Mm-hmm. Now, what are we going to talk about today, Naomi? We have to talk about the latest on the Epstein files and whether Trump might disappear entirely now that he's basically reducted himself from history. Well, what else shall we chat about?
In a blink and you missed it news, government made an announcement that it's going to shake up the daily lobby briefing to journalists in number 10. That has got a few hacks into a bit of a froth. So I think we need to unpick that a bit and get into the detail on it, if you don't mind.
With pleasure. And if there's time, let's go over some quite fun, festive polling that our friends at More in Common have published, as they do every year. It's become a bit of a Christmas tradition. I think last year it was, how do parties break down by choice of confectionery?
Yeah, I remember something to do with biscuits as well.
Yeah, so let's find out what they've been doing this year.
Intriguing. Okay, let's crack on.
Quiet Riot. It was the night before Epstein, and all through DC, not a journo was stirring from their Mac or PC. The dirt had to be published, no more distractions, but in the end all we got was a bunch of redactions. And so it came to pass that less than a tenth of what should have been published was, and even that was mainly in the form of a bunch of black boxes next to any celebrity other than Trump. The department believes, stated the Department of Justice, it should, in the compressed time frame, err on the side of redacting to protect victims, and erred it has. Instead of putting the kibosh on this, the release has pretty much annoyed everyone on any side of the debate. Lawmakers, both Democratic and Republican, are drafting articles of impeachment against Pam Bondi.
Are you considering impeachment for the Attorney General if you don't feel that the Justice Department complies with your law?
Thomas Massie and I talked about it. He's working, as am I, on drafting articles of impeachment and inherent contempt. We haven't decided whether to move it forward yet, but we're in the process of doing it. And look, the problem that the Attorney General has, if you just look at the comments to our social media feed, is the amount of MAGA influencers who are upset with her. And the issue for her is not, are there going to be 212 Democrats who would support it? The issue for her is how many Republicans and MAGA supporters would support it. So my hope, because my hope has never been about Pam Bondi getting justice. Or my hope is she looks at this. She looks at the disappointment that the survivors have, and she makes a decision over the next 2 weeks to actually start releasing these documents, because she may lose more Republicans in the House than she anticipates.
Someone should remind Pam that Nixon may have avoided jail time, but his attorney general did not. Now, Naomi, everyone expected that something like this would happen, right? And yet everyone is still shocked by it. Is it the size of the fuck you to Congress that is shocking, or the blatant way in which it has been fronted, I guess?
I think both, depending on where you're coming from and where your critique of Trump tends to land. And it is worth remembering that the bill that has precipitated this release, in the end, was a bipartisan vote.
That's right.
And it was unanimously passed by them and signed by Trump. And they've had a month to get it all ready to prepare the release. And of course, years and years and years before that. And the DOJ has admitted it has released only a fraction of the material. So, we can go through what has been released. And I think also we're going to have to go through what hasn't and what might now come later.
I mean, it's important to say that as we're recording on Saturday afternoon, there's still tranches being released.
Yeah.
Like it's an ongoing process.
And of course, the whole website crashed.
Yeah.
And people were desperately trying to access it and being told you're in a queue. There were millions of people. There was a load issue happening over on the DOJ website. So even the stuff that had been released is taking people time to get in and squirrel away on and extract. What's been the real interest of what's come out? Anything that we didn't expect?
A lot of the stuff that has come out was already in the public domain. That's the first thing. A lot of the stuff that's come out is blacked out. There is one document that's 100 pages long. That's all completely black. It's just
what's in there?
The only thing you can see is the page number mocking you as it goes up and up and up, and everything else is blacked out. It will be fun, I think, to see, because obviously Congress has asked already to haul Pam Bondi in front of them and the DOJ in front of them and get them to justify this stuff. It will be fun to see on individual redactions, basically, how they go about justifying it. Pam Bondi is not someone that's been details-oriented in the past, let's say. So no. I think that could be quite a lot of fun. Yeah, I found the BBC's coverage hilarious, and actually much of the British media's coverage. You know the thing they do at the Oscars or the Golden Globes where they instantly go into what British people are included on the lists? It's basically that. They're literally just doing a report of famous British people that are included in a photo somewhere. So they go, oh, look, it's Mountbatten. Oh, look, it's
Mick Jagger.
Oh, look, it's the latest one, I think, was Richard Branson. And each time they keep reprinting this proviso in italics that reads, and I quote, "The pictures are released without details on time, place, or context. And being depicted in the images does not imply any wrongdoing."
Don't sue me, don't sue me, don't sue me.
But it kind of gets to the nub of it, doesn't it? So, I mean, what we have is someone's Flickr feed. It's someone's Instagram, basically, with absolutely zero context. Sometimes you're looking at photos of interiors of a property somewhere, and you don't even know where it is, whose property it is, or when. It's like flicking through, Home Interiors magazine. None of it is of really any consequence. I think, strangely, what it has done is it has reshifted focus on what's not included. I think by doing it's what we call the blizzard disclosure approach in legal scenarios. Like when I used to work at the Office of Fair Trading, we would ask for 10 documents from a company, and we would either get 8 because they would try and say that this this one is not relevant or it's, commercially sensitive or whatever, they would try and find some reason why it wasn't a legitimate request. Or they would send us a truckload of boxes, not categorized or indexed or archived in any useful way. And often with the documents we wanted, just accidentally put in the wrong place, like in the wrong year's box or something. And that was quite common. And the White House have sort of fallen between those two stalls. They've released a huge amount of information, but also redacted loads of it.
Yeah.
When I did the episode on golden apples, there's something that Magritte said, that famous photo of the man in the bowler hat with an apple in front of his face. And he said, whenever there is something seen that is obscuring something unseen, human instinct is to want to see what is behind it.
Of course.
And that's what's going on here, basically. It has piqued everyone's interest to see what's been blacked out and why, what's not been included in the dump and why. And a lot has not been included because estimates vary, but people say that if you look at it from a data point of view, because we know there was about 300 gigabytes worth of data, so from a data point of view, they've released between 1 and 10% of the material they have.
Quiet, Riot. If you've shopped online, chances are you've bought from a business powered by Shopify. You know that purple Shop Pay button you see at checkout? The one that makes buying so incredibly easy? That's Shopify. And there's a reason so many businesses sell with it, because Shopify makes it incredibly easy to start and run your business. Shopify is the commerce platform behind 10% of all e-commerce in the US. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/promo. Go to shopify.com/promo. Quiet, Riot.
I've been quite interested in the MAGA reaction.
Yeah,
and the
really
fact that
important, isn't it?
Yeah, right. And that there has not been a coherent MAGA reaction. And from what I can tell, there are kind of 3 different types of response among Trump supporters, allied commentators, etc. So you've got the deflective emphasis, the ones that are saying, look at Clinton, look at all these other Democrat figures and British people, and oh my gosh, Trump doesn't even feature. The second seemed to be like the dismissal or denial, like this is not relevant, this is not serious, nothing to see here. And then the internal criticism, the Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Fuentes view of it all, this really strong internal criticism of Trump for failing to secure a fuller and less redacted release and to uphold what the MAGA base wanted in terms of full unredacted disclosure and transparency, and really pointing at him having undermined his own promise of transparency and therefore his administration's failure. So I found that really interesting. Have there been any particular nuggets of MAGA reaction that you've enjoyed?
I think the reason this is really important is because it comes at a time when the MAGA movement is kind of eating itself anyway, right?
And going into a big election year.
Yeah. So you had the first youth turning point conference a few days ago since Charlie Kirk's murder. And on the stage, people like Ben Shapiro attacked people like Candace Owens and people like Tucker Carlson, after which Tucker Carlson, who was also a speaker, attacked Ben Shapiro. Let's have a little listen.
The conservative movement is also in danger from charlatans who claim to speak in the name of principle, but actually traffic in conspiracism and dishonesty. If Candace Owens decides to spend every day since the murder of Charlie Kirk to spew absolutely baseless trash, implicating everyone from French intelligence to Mossad to members of TPUSA in Charlie's murder, or a cover-up in that murder, then we, as people with a microphone, have a moral obligation to call that out by name. So no, Tucker Carlson, it is not an excuse to go silent on Candace's targeting of TPUSA.
On the first day of Turning Point USA's annual youth conference, popular conservative influencers Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson attacked each other on the stage.
I just got here, and I feel like I missed the first part of the program. I hope I didn't miss anything meaningful. But I just want to say, I don't think I did. No, I'm just kidding. I watched it. I laughed. That kind of bitter, sardonic laugh that emerges from you when, like, Upside Down World arrives. When your dog starts doing your taxes, and you're like, wait, it's not supposed to work this way. To hear calls for, like, deplatforming and denouncing people at a Charlie Kirk event, I'm like, what? This is hilarious.
And then you have the whole Marjorie Taylor Greene thing, which has been brewing for a long time. But she's now engaged to be married to Brian Glenn, who you might remember was the Voice of America journalist that kicked the whole why Zelensky not wearing a suit in that meeting.
Oh, yeah.
And he's now Marjorie Taylor Greene's fiancé, and he's having a complete meltdown. Let's have a little listen to that.
I kind of wish we turn our attention to 2026 and the policies that actually affect Americans. All of this talk is great for what we do. Talk show hosts, talk radio. It's perfect for that. But it's horrible in terms of winning the 2026 midterms. This does nothing to improve anyone's life. And if I seem a little angry about it, because I am. We waste so much dadgum time on who said this, who said that, all these conspiracy theories. When it comes down to it, is your life better right now than it was a year ago? Do you think it's going to be better off 2 years from now than it was when he took office? Those are the things I wish we talk about. All this other bullshit, I'm sorry. I'm just over it. If I seem a little angry, I apologize. I'm just over it. Let's talk about policies to make America great. America great. That's what I want to talk about.
Okay. And all of that comes on top of just ordinary MAGAs being increasingly angry with the state of the economy, which is the real thing. The real undercurrent of all this is the fact that Trump made promises about the economy on which he has not only hasn't he delivered, but he's taken everything in the opposite direction.
I see where families are getting evicted, everybody's struggling to pay their bills. And I thought that whenever the new president comes through, I thought things was going to be like it was whenever he was in office before. You know, prices was so much cheaper, you know, jobs were a lot better, gas went down, and there ain't a stinking thing that has changed since he got in office.
They're acting like I'm not MAGA. I am America First. And what's not America First is us continually lying. And our own political party is covering up the Epstein files.
I just wanted to come on here and say I'm sorry. I voted for him, and I thought he was going to make things better for folks like us.
Economy's down the tubes. Healthcare is awful. Prescriptions are terrible. Groceries are off the charts. And I think the only way we're going to do better is if he gets out and somebody else gets in.
His approval ratings on the economy, which of course traditionally was one of his strongest cards, has slipped into the low 30s. And part of that drop ties to the broader economic frustration that you just mentioned. Voters expected prices to fall much more sharply under Trump's policies than they have done. And the slower progress has given Democrats, independent voices, quite a bit more strength, and public approval on economic performance is now markedly lower for Trump than at similar points in his previous term. So I think that's really undermining Trump's ability to rally his base and swing voters going into next year.
And he's tanking on stuff like foreign policy and immigration, on which in his first term he was really strong, and which are really key things to his support base. So basically, you now have this situation where if there were two currents in the MAGA movement, One was about restoring American pride and restoring the American economy and American jobs for American people, et cetera, et cetera. And that's not happening. And the other side was about draining the swamp and conspiracy theories and all of that, and that's not happening. So you have him performing poorly on both those tendencies that were absolutely key to his base and that overlap significantly with each other. So when you get people who were both America first economically and drained the swamp, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, you have in those people suddenly a really powerful critic.
Quiet, Riot. Meet the computer you can talk to. With Copilot on Windows, working, creating, and collaborating is as easy as talking. Got writer's block? Share your screen with Copilot Vision to help spark inspiration, and use Copilot Voice to have a conversation and brainstorm ideas. Or maybe you need some tech help. With Copilot Vision, Copilot sees what you see. Let Copilot talk you through step-by-step guidance so you can master new apps, games, and skills faster. Try now at windows.com/Copilot. Quiet, Riot.
Naomi, what do you think happens now? What do you think happens next with the Epstein stuff, first of all?
Okay, so I think 3 broad areas of it. So you're going to have this staggered release continuing with more batches. I'll go into a bit of detail about what might be contained in those. Second, you've got this growing pressure politically and, of course, congressionally for a complete and transparent timeline of when these releases will happen, justifications for redactions. And then the third thing that could happen is possible legal action if DOJ is seen as violating the Transparency Act. So I think both public scrutiny and political is going to remain pretty intense. In terms of the kind of documents that have been anticipated and may yet still come to light, there's loads of different types. So you've got grand jury transcripts. They could reveal previously undisclosed claims against high-profile individuals, and I think importantly would show how federal prosecution built or limited its case against Epstein. Flight logs haven't yet been detailed. They could come out showing which high-profile individuals traveled with Epstein when, and that will begin to trace the movements that could be tied to alleged criminal activity. Then there's just more in terms of emails, text messages, communication between Epstein and his associates. And that could include discussions of logistics, social gatherings, even financial dealings. That brings me to financial records themselves. Follow the money. That's what any good investigative journalist will tell you. Bank statements, payments to staff, possibly even payments to victims. That could include things like corporate shell entities, offshore accounts. All of that is anticipated to be part of this. And then interview notes, depositions, context, therefore, that might not have appeared in formal court filings, but could help clarify or put to bed claims around timeline of events. You've got the court filings and draft indictments themselves. And then just more miscellaneous stuff, more photos, more artifacts, hard drives, photographs, books, etc., from all of Epstein's properties that could corroborate victim statements or undermine them. And all of that is going to attract intense media attention.
And I think the one thing that emerges already from what we have seen is how meticulous a sort of archiver Epstein was.
Yeah.
I think that much is clear. Every call is logged, little notes everywhere, little scribbles behind photos. It's fascinating just how meticulous he was in keeping a record of what was going on. And we know that Trump was really close to Epstein for a very long period. You know, this is something we know. Even if he claims they had a falling out in the sort of mid-2000s, this stuff goes a long way before that. And so Trump's complete absence from everything that's been released so far tells a story of its own. It looks selective because we know he should be in there and he's not. And so I don't know what it is they're hoping for. Trump held a rally last night. There's highlights and bits of it online. I would advise people to have a little look. Trump sounded exhausted. He sounded more low energy, voiceless than I've ever seen before. And he was speaking to a sort of half-empty gym. We're not talking about big stadium now, right?
No, he is drawing noticeably fewer people.
Hmm.
And fewer people with excitement than earlier cycles. I mean,
That's
even
right.
those that are there are not whooping and cheering in the way
No,
they did
it
at
was
YMCA
very
rallies.
lukewarm. There was none of the enthusiasm that you saw in earlier years. And in many ways, that is even more dangerous for the midterms, like your own base being disengaged. That's lethal.
On the other hand, he still commands a loyal base. The
Yeah.
GOP infrastructure and major donors remain largely aligned with him.
Yep.
And the party has not coalesced around a different leader in his absence, nor have his rivals in the Democrat movement.
And he's come back before, you know. He goes, we've seen him in this kind of state before. He goes away, he has a little rest. Doctors stick a cannula in his hand and replace his blood with chlorine, and he comes back and with alien green goo, and he comes back much perkier. We've seen that before. So
True. Quiet. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and down number 10, the lobby stood ready with questions again, when out came an email, easily marked spam. No afternoon briefings, except for Instagram. Just as Parliament rose on Thursday, Downing Street quietly announced a significant change to its long-standing practice of daily press briefings for the political journalists, often referred to as the lobby. According to the Mirror's Mikey Smith, number 10, quote, sneaked out that it is cancelling the daily afternoon lobby briefing on the last working day of Christmas, a move that is part of a broader overhaul of how the government engages with the media. The government says the existing system, where accredited political reporters in the Westminster Lobby question the PM's official spokesperson once in the morning and once in the afternoon, is no longer fit for purpose in a transformed media environment. In its place, Downing Street plans to introduce a mix of occasional ministerial press conferences and technical briefings, which will include content creators and specialist journalists alongside traditional lobby members. Officials argue this will better serve journalists and inform the public. However, the proposed changes have sparked an immediate backlash from many political journalists and press freedom advocates. Critics warn that reducing open, unscripted questioning by accredited political reporters and replacing it with government-controlled press events could weaken journalistic scrutiny and transparency at the heart of UK politics. Opponents also note the lack of consultation with the lobby before this email went out and risks limiting the scope and depth of questions ministers may face under the new format. Alex, we bang on and on and on about the government needing to get a better grip on comms. Is this a good start, or are they just changing the delivery mechanism rather than improving the message?
Only time will tell, because we will see how they handle this kind of thing. I've seen a lot of people suggesting this is a sort of Trumpification of our politics. But the method of having a press secretary that takes questions in a televised conference at the White House was in place long before Trump.
Yeah.
So that in itself is not a Trumpification. It's just a different way of approaching it. I think it signals that government is annoyed with lobby journalists, that a lot of the time, because the lobby briefings take place in private, effectively, that they then go and report them in a slightly different way to how the government intends them. They sort of craft them into a big story if there's no big story to be told. And so I think what the government primarily is doing is saying no more behind the scenes access for you. If what comes out of it is that those journalists get similar access, but it's in a public setting, I'm sort of all for it, because we have seen so many instances in the past where lobby journalists come out of a briefing and make, 2 + 2 = 7 to create some kind of story that just isn't there. I don't think they're reporting, not all of them, but I think a lot of them are not reporting those lobby briefings accurately or honestly. So the government has to do something about that, right?
Yeah.
It cannot keep using this body this privileged body of journalists as an intermediary when time after time it alters the message in a way that's completely unfair. It was bound to do something.
I'm interested in them talking about content creators, and notable this week that we've seen government figures join TikTok, a couple of them even on Blue Sky. Starmer's got his own TikTok too. And when it comes to how the lobby operates, so at the moment, you can only apply for a lobby security pass and be an actual official member of the government's approved lobby list if you are a member of staff of an approved media organization.
Yeah.
What does that mean? It means that freelancers cannot get a lobby pass.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be completely in favor of changing that. When we look at some content creators, like for instance, the news agents, they will get stuff from the lobby via Global, who is an enormous media organization that, of course, has people with a lobby pass. So organizations are entitled to apply for them. They may or may not get them. But if you let content creators apply for lobby passes as freelancers, then they will be bound by the same journalistic rules that the current lobby journalists are. And I think that is also probably a good thing. And it is self-selecting then, not being sort of hand-picked. You have to opt in to get a pass and be able to attend. So I think that's probably quite a good thing.
Naomi, wasn't there a massive stink about a month ago about a journalist being excluded from a defense briefing on...
Yeah, that rings a bell.
On going forward because the government said we can't... They're not a lobby journalist. And there was a big hoo-ha about how specialist journalists need to be allowed into these briefings because they can question basically government decisions in distinct topics in a much more
robust
knowledgeable way than a lobby journalist can. So like I said, it's the result that matters. If the result is that when the government is making an education announcement, then you get a collection of journalists that specialize in education that can ask actually better informed and possibly more difficult questions of the government, then it's plainly a very good thing. And the reason lobby journalists are upset is because they're losing the exclusivity of that thing. They had exclusive behind the scenes. This is what it comes down to for me. This group of people had exclusive behind the scenes access to the government. And a lot of them abused that access by misreporting stories and ignoring other stuff. And so I think the government is right to shake it up a bit. And I like Mikey, but when he comes out on Blue Sky and says that, oh, look what government snuck out on the last day before Christmas. I mean, they sent an email to every lobby journalist. It's not like they didn't expect this to be reported. They emailed directly a press release to every lobby journalist saying, this is what will be happening going forward. So I don't think snuck out is right. And I don't think many people up and down the country view last Friday as the last day before Christmas either.
Quiet, Riot. This episode is brought to you by Netflix. So Netflix is basically Santa this year. 2 NFL games on Christmas Day, streaming live. At 1 p.m. Eastern, it's Cowboys, Commanders. Then at 4:30, you've got Lions, Vikings. Midwest football, playoff stakes, and probably some snow. Watching holiday football is a tradition the whole family can enjoy. Open some gifts, grab some food, settle in, and watch NFL Live on Netflix this Christmas Day.
This is Jason Momoa, and I'll be your finance professor today. Welcome to Banking Smarter 101 with Chime. Bam! First lesson, sign up for Chime and set up direct deposit. You'll be joining millions of members banking fee-free. Second lesson, get cash back on eligible purchases while building credit and a higher APY on your savings. That's how you bank smarter this season. Fa-la-la-la-la, class dismissed. Join Chime today.
Chime is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services and a secure Chime Visa credit card provided by the Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A. Members FDIC. Optional services and products may have fees or charges. Details at chime.com/fees info. With a qualifying direct deposit, earn 1.5% cash back on eligible secured Chime Visa credit card purchases. On-time payment history may have a positive impact on your credit score. Results may vary. APY means annual percentage yield. Learn about credit building and more at chime.com.
Quiet, Riot. I also think that there is something very particularly closed off about how the UK handles all of this. Westminster, we know, is a very bubbled, closed ecosystem. And even obtaining the phone numbers of political aides whose job it is and who are paid to speak to the press on behalf of a minister or government itself is an almost impossible task. When you look at the EU in Brussels, press spokespeople have their numbers published online, right? You literally can Google it. You or I could, anyone could. But in the UK, even the real-time list of serving government aides would be a complete secret if it were not for the best efforts of organisation, other news outlets like Politico, even I will mention Guido Fawkes' website, publishing them. They find out about it. And so journalists have to do all of this ridiculous squirreling to find out who aides are, persuade somebody who they know to share the phone number of that person because perhaps they went to university with them 20 years ago, and then attempt to build a relationship to be able to ask if they could ask a question at a press conference. And so there are all these enormous barriers to entry to be able to scrutinize what our government is doing by what is meant to be a free press. And I do think that this is an initial move, but quite a lot more needs to be done, frankly, to give us that accountability.
Most of the time, we don't even know who it was. Like, not most of the time, all of the time. It's government spokes. Government spokes. We don't even know if it's a man or a woman on that day. Like, we don't know anything about that person. And so we can form no opinion, actually, about the spokesperson for the government, which is a vastly important position that should attract some public scrutiny.
Totally.
We don't know, like we know with Caroline Leavitt, we don't have a sense of their personality, their style, whether different people are more accident prone than others. Do you know what I mean? That should also be part of the accountability.
Because they
of
are
government.
taxpayer-funded roles.
Of course they are.
They are not party staff paid for through donations.
And nor are they civil service, which would
Exactly.
make sense
They're in
that
this
they are
hybrid
protected.
role. Yeah.
I mean, I understand why people are annoyed, but it is definitely an entitlement that's being taken away, and the people who have been entitled to it for a long time, they're crying. They've spat out their dummy.
How do you think expanding access to or for content creators change the nature of political journalism and how we as the public understand government policy? And is this a way for brand new YouTuber Liz Truss to finally get back into the heart of number 10? Kenny, like, we create content. Should we try and get you in? I'm sure they'd take questions from you. I mean, probably not from Kenny or I, but I think they would take them from you.
I think the interesting thing is that I don't think Liz Truss would go. I think she would expect the Prime Minister to come to her podcast, sit either side of her plant pot and be interrupted with long monologues. I mean, I don't think someone like Liz Truss would go. Because I don't think she's interested in not being the star, essentially. I don't think she's interested in asking questions. I think she's interested in answering them herself. First of all, it could open it up to more outfits that are out there. There's some big political podcasts that are not part of a particular media organization that wouldn't have access to a pass in the same way that global do.
Stephen Yaxley, self-styled citizen journalist?
Yeah, well, he'll have to come back to this country to do that.
Did you see that video that's gone completely viral of him in Dubai at the boxing?
Delightful, isn't it? Oh my goodness, shall we play it?
Yeah, go on.
For IFL TV, we're out here in Dubai ahead of Andrew Tate versus Chase the Moore. Delighted to be joined by Mr. Tommy Robinson, a face I wasn't expecting to see here today.
I know, everyone looks at me like, yeah, I've come here. I've got my children with me. They love Misfits, they always have, so I was given
interviewing a racist prick. Why are you giving him airtime for?
They are interviewing me.
Why are you giving him airtime?
They are interviewing me.
Racist rat.
They are.
Why are you giving him airtime for?
They are.
Fuck him.
They are interviewing me.
He hates Muslims, but he's in a Muslim country.
Where
that one at?
They are interviewing me.
Fucking prick. Don't give him no airtime. You hate Muslims like this. Why are you doing that? Why are you in this country? You hate Muslims.
I'm here on the invite.
You hate Muslims, so why are you in a Muslim country for? You're a little rat. Uneducated little rat.
You're uneducated. You're uneducated.
Prick. Get the fuck out of here. You don't want it around here.
Fuck off, you mug.
You don't want it around here.
I'll finish my interview.
What this interview? He's a fucking idiot. Don't put him on no interview. Don't give him no time. The racist rat bastard. He hates Muslims, but he's in a Muslim country. Where that one at? How the fuck does that work?
Do you know how many Muslims I know? That makes me.
I do stand up against them. Yeah, I do. Why don't you stand up against the Groomingans that are white? I've only ever seen you stand up against. I'm from Derby, England. Yeah. I only see you stand up against the Muslims. I stand up. What do you mean? What am I doing here? I'm a professional. I fight the misfits. I'm a misfits fighter. What are you doing here? Most of the nonsense look like you.
I'm giving you a fact. I'm giving you a fact. The majority of nonsense are white. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, well then. So why don't you? I don't see you pointing that shit out. Why is your free speech only against Muslims?
I'm not talking about Muslims.
No, you're okay. No, I'm on about that's what you're known for.
Because I've got an opinion.
You're a racist,
I'm allowed my opinion.
Prick and I want you around here.
What's racist got to do?
So fuck off.
What's racist got to do?
Come back to where you come from.
Yeah,
No.
what are you doing? Who are you pushing? Who are you pushing, you fucking fanny?
Like I said, all of it will come out in the wash. We have to see what they mean by this. First of all, they haven't said they will cancel morning lobby briefings. They said they might sometimes replace them with a public press conference, after which people will be able to ask questions. I don't think that's such a big deal.
And at which there would be a pool camera and there would probably be broadcast live on Sky News, so we could all watch the framing, the context, how a question is asked, how it's answered, rather than read a write-up of it from a private event.
And I'm not entirely sure, to be honest, that 2 lobby briefings a day are necessary at this point. But like I said, it'll come out in the wash. What I do know is that all the, media organizations making a fuss are very happy to carry an hour's worth of Nigel Farage talking directly from his own studio about whatever he decides to that morning, because they think it will get them clicks. So they don't mind that format when the person that they're grooming to be the next prime minister is doing it. What's the issue with government adopting that format?
As you say, time will tell. And listeners, we will report back to you with updates as and when we get them. Quiet, Riot. If Reform UK wins the next general election, we will, factually, be led by donkeys. Also says some cheeky polling from our friend Luke Trill over at More in Common. They asked voters who they're intending to back if an election were held tomorrow, and then which character they played in their primary school nativity. A whopping 35% of those who were cast as the donkey now intend to vote Reform, whereas the coveted role of narrator now intend to vote Labour. Alex, this is a very fun bit of polling. Could it signal anything more interesting?
I think it signals how boring Lib Dem voters are.
Oh.
Sorry, but it is really quite notable that Lib Dem voters are either 4th or 5th in the sort of teens in every single one of these. They literally break evenly across every possible role.
I didn't see innkeeper on there, and actually I feel that a lot of Lib Dems would have been innkeepers. They are
maybe
very much a part of the home-owning Middle England classes now. So, I think
I love that. I love that interpretation.
They love a bit of real ale campaign,
What did you think was the most telling one? I thought that the fact that Labour voters, by a long way, cast either a wise man or a narrator.
Yeah.
I think that speaks volumes, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does.
And remember, these are people who voted Labour last election. So they're not necessarily still Labour. Very few people are. But I found that quite striking. And I'm struggling to interpret the Reform thing. Why do you think that is? Why do you think they see themselves by such a huge margin as donkeys or sheep?
Well, I don't know that they saw themselves as that. It's that the teacher saw them as that. The teacher who was organising the play and handing out roles went, follows the crowd, sheep, back end of a donkey. Yeah, that's him. It's not how they saw themselves, was it?
So you think it's a sort of childhood trauma that's now of being seen as talentless that is now expressing itself in their political choices.
Maybe. Also, what was quite funny was that the Tories, the one they were most likely to have been given was no roll. Which, look, is a bit of a portent. Come on then, give us some more on other fun things More Common has done.
It's not necessarily fun. I thought it was an interesting one. They've done a piece of work on use of mobile phones for the holidays. And it's found that a plurality, nearly a majority of parents will allow their children to have mobile phones at the dinner table on Christmas Day. But also that all of them dislike it, yet they all admit to doing it as well. It's this weird situation, because there was another bit of work actually in the summer that I remember seeing that suggested the same plurality of people intended to have a bit of a detox.
So when the sun was shining and the weather was good and we were all like, yeah, we're not going to be on our phones, we're going to get out there. And then the cold, dark days come in and it's like, nah, I ain't going anywhere.
Full of good intentions in July, but as the holidays come closer, the reality of spending actual time with your family dawns and people are like, I have to be able to scroll.
I also think it speaks to the addiction, right? You can intend and you can say, look, I know I shouldn't be doing this so much, but I just can't physically break the cycle.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sure you would get similar sort of results if you asked people, do you intend to eat less?
Or give up booze.
And drink a bit less this Christmas. And everyone would say yes in July, but 2 weeks from the holidays would probably go, no, I'm
eyeing
sorry.
up that bottle of claret, yeah.
I need to pig out and get drunk. But I think the more important thing that emerged is that a lot of parents, a real majority of parents, do understand that it is them who give the wrong signal to their children, that it is them that are constantly scrolling through their phone. And so it makes a prohibition, I guess, both hypocritical and more difficult practically to say to other people that don't do that when you're doing it all the time.
Indeed.
So maybe instead of discussing a detox this Christmas or banning other people from having their phone at the table, how about a call to action for listeners that they make a conscious effort to spend less time on their phone this holiday season and not bring it to the table? Maybe the best way is to quietly, without preaching at anyone or telling people not to do X, to lead by example.
But only after you've listened to Quiet Riot.
Obviously.
Quiet Riot.
And with that, dear listeners, we end the last Sunday School of 2025. Where does time go? The days may be long, but the years are indeed very short. Thank you all so much for tuning in once more. And don't forget to check your subscription boxes over the coming weeks for plenty of bonus Quiet Riot content, including our big editorial meeting in January.
We are incredibly grateful to you all for supporting Quiet Riot, Podyssey, and Behind the Lines this year, and we feel extremely privileged that you let us into your ears every week.
Details will come soon about our next live session. We may even do a cheeky live Sunday School. So if you want to be involved in those, make sure you're signed up at ko-fi.com/QuietRiotPod for $5 a month or more.
But for now, switch that out of office on, turn that laptop off, and enjoy a well-earned break. We love you all very, very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Quiet Riot is an audio production by Cooler Heads with Naomi Smith and Andreou. Produced by Kenny Campbell. Music by Mariana Sangeeta. Artwork by Simona Canelu. And edited by me, Alex Reese.
Quiet Riot.
People are kind of shocked by how frank she was. She started with her boss, even though he doesn't drink. Weil says Trump has an alcoholic's personality. I believe that. And frankly, I think it's amazing he doesn't drink. He sure sounds like it.
Anonymous, really anonymous. I said, well, let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen, the fat shot drug. Electrocution as a result.
We just set another stock rocket.
Deadhead fed hair. You're going to see some statistics coming out. God bless the United States.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here, wishing you a very happy half-off holiday, because right now Mint Mobile is offering you the gift of 50% off unlimited. To be clear, that's half price, not half the service. And Mint is still premium unlimited wireless for a great price. So that means a half day, yeah? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.